Happy October, everybody. I'm sorry for taking so long to update already. I tried once or twice to upload a video about what's going on behind the scenes and everything, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get the audio to sync up with the video. I'm not very good at this yet. So my blog was kind of like this, and then you would hear me talking and my lips would not be moving anymore. I don't know. I think it's because I talk too fast, but whatever. Here we go. October has been really fun so far. I haven't done anything. We're saving most of the stuff we're doing for this weekend, which we're going to a pumpkin patch and a cornfield, and we're doing all that fun white people Halloween stuff. Speaking of white people, what I mostly wanted to talk about was the project that I'm working on outside of my actual writing itself. What I'm doing is myself and a friend of mine from the Southern Hemisphere who is also a witch interested in social justice. We are getting together to launch a website for witches who, like I said, are interested in social justice, but more than that, it's at the intersection of race and sexuality, social justice, and witchcraft. It's an intersection that isn't often hit by a lot of people I see, and the community itself has a lot of problems, but, you know, our website aims to start to tackle some of them, talk about them, you know, spread awareness about what can be done, and so on. So that's just a little teaser of what we're doing. I don't really want to say too much more because we're not ready to launch yet. Still working on it. I'm not very good with timetables, and I am kind of a naturally lazy person, but I'm trying to get past that. And we're starting to get almost everything put together. It's coming. So more details on that when we're done. Okay, on to the fun stuff. For October, I thought it would be fun to do what everybody else does and do kind of a listicle about, you know, spooky themed type things. This year, I wanted to do my top 5 favorite movies. And I think that would be really fun to do because I'm kind of a movie buff, and if you will let me, I will sit and talk about movies for hours and hours and hours. Not going to today, just going to stick to my 5 top. Going to count them down. Alrighty then. Okay, number 5. I thought this one kind of covered every other sort of horror movie that it parodies off of, because it is, I think, considered a parody. Number 5 is Cabin in the Woods. It was directed by Joss Whedon. I think it was directed by him. He was involved somehow. It was my favorite because not only do they sort of explain every other horror movie to ever exist, it's done in the kind of way that you, the person who's watching it, you know, you're yelling at the screen, don't split up, don't go in there. They totally play into that sort of observing the horror person going through their horror protagonist going through their obstacles and so on. They do a lot about working with that. That is just so funny to me. And what else really tickles my bones about Cabin in the Woods is because the stoner, typically one of the first people to die, you know, doesn't make all the good decisions. He's actually the smartest person in the whole movie, and they play it to great effect. It's very, very funny. Not what you would expect, totally what you want. Absolutely recommend. 5 for 5. Very bloody, very funny, and I'm not one who can deal with a whole lot of blood, so it's a manageable amount. So, number 4, it's not a horror movie as we would think of it as a Halloween horror movie. This is a comedy horror set during Christmas time. It's called Krampus, and it's about anti-Santa, and it's basically about what happens when everybody in the world is a shithead, and it's Christmas time, and nobody deserves presents. What happens when nobody deserves presents? Well, they send Anti-Santa, who is a terrifying German spirit who will, spoiler alert, kill your whole family and lock you in a snow globe. Will not be explaining the last part of that comment. You'll just have to go and watch it yourself. Number 3. The top 3 I had a lot of problems with because there were so many that I really liked, and especially my top 3 I really struggled with. Number 3, I would have to say, would be Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. I really wanted this to be my number 1. For those of you in the US, growing up in the 90s, Disney Channel had tons of original movies that were just amazing and really good quality. Their Halloween ones were the best. I just remembered at least 2 or 3 more that I could have had on this list, and now I'm kind of sad that I didn't. Under Wraps, the Mummy movie, being one of them. Go check it out. Very funny. But Halloween Town, Calabar's Revenge was one of the better sequels. First of all, it was a sequel, obviously. It was one of the better sequels I've ever seen in my life. Really good, did the original movie really good justice, played up their own storyline, and it wasn't too cheesy because it was a Disney Channel original movie. But they, at the time, had quite a budget for their movies, so they did it really well. I didn't think it was too hokey. I didn't think it was too rushed. I thought it was really magical. It was different enough from the first movie that I thought it could be a standalone. I watch it by itself all the time. And you don't really need that much backstory because they explain it. Not as good as the first one, obviously. That's why it's number 3. Number two, whoops. This, was a really, really big toss-up. It was a toss-up between my number 1 and my number 2. I settled on Hocus Pocus. Now, I know, Hocus Pocus is supposed to be like the quintessential Halloween movie, and everybody should put it on their number 1. I know. I actually almost put Don't Look Under the Bed, which is another Disney Channel original movie. All of them on Amazon Prime. Go find them if you haven't seen them. Don't Look Under the Bed. I warn you, people with kids, I thought it was terrifying. I just watched it as an adult. Still terrifying. But that's not what this is about. This is about Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is probably the most well-known and best made Disney Channel original movie. Like, it's so famous that people who didn't even have Disney know what Hocus Pocus was. Winifred Sanderson, it was about the Sanderson sisters, played by Bette Midler. I think it was Bette Midler off the top of my head. Yes, it was Bette Midler. Sarah Jessica Parker played one of her sisters, Sarah. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she plays Peggy Hill. She is the third Sanderson sister. It's wonderful, it's whimsical, it's just the right amount of dark. You have to watch it, if you're watching it for the first time, you really gotta watch it with somebody who's seen it before, because it's just that fun and nostalgic, and it brings back that kind of feel of being a kid, Halloween, and everything is magically fun and spooky instead of being existentially horrifying and spooky. Even though Hocus Pocus is pretty much the greatest Halloween movie ever, the one that absolutely took the cake for me, especially this year, and I'm not really sure why, but number 1 for me was Halloween Town. I know I was talking a lot about the original when I was talking about the second one. The second one and the first one are almost as good as each other to me, honestly. I thought it was such a good follow-up. But the original Halloween Town, I remember as a kid, was just so fun and whimsical. Hocus Pocus gets a little dark with the child eating, but there's no child eating in Hocus Pocus. It's a lot of family stuff, a lot of, like, good versus evil. It's very cool. Lots of, interesting characters. I totally love it. It brings back the magic of being a kid during Halloween, and more than anything, that's really what I'm into at this time of year, because I don't know about everybody else, but life is terrifying enough to me that I don't need to be scared all the time, and not especially during my favorite season. So yes, Hocus Pocus is my #1 Halloween movie this year. So I hope you all got some good suggestions out of there, even though I'm pretty sure we've all seen every single one of those movies. But yes, I thought I would change up my blog a little bit, give you guys some lists instead of just listening to me babble for about 15 minutes about close to nothing. Okay, I'm gonna let you go so I can go ahead and probably watch Halloween Town, not gonna lie. Alright, everybody, I will see you, guys and gals and non-binary pals. I will see you all later. I love you. Have a good October.